It's no secret that Colorado is a popular state for transplants. So why are so many people leaving Colorado? Whether you're moving from the next state over or across the country, the Centennial state gets a lot of hype for beautiful scenery, outdoor recreation, and quality of life. And it's true, Colorado is an amazing place to live, with some of the most beautiful towns in all of North America. However, there are a few aspects about the state that aren't quite as nice as you might hope, and they could become a reason why you may regret moving to Colorado in the long term. These may not necessarily be negative things about the state, but they are things that you should be aware of before living here. Here are the top facts you need to know so you don't regret moving to Colorado this year. Some of these things you might view in a positive way or a negative way, just depending on your preference. For some people, it may make you want to leave Colorado, but for others, they may be things that are very appealing. You can determine for yourself if these points listed are pros or cons to living in Colorado. Number 12, tons of tourism. Depending on how you view this point, ample tourism can be a good or a bad thing for the state. In 2019, Colorado welcomed more than 86 million visitors that spent a total of $24.2 billion in the state. This influx of tourism helped provide jobs and saved every Colorado household around $707 in annual taxes. In the summer of 2022, the Colorado Cashback Program was able to refund $750 per individual tax filer. This was basically a one-time refund of state revenue surplus from the fiscal year of 21 to 22. However, some of the downsides to tourism include an increased level of crowds on the road, on hiking trails, and ski resorts. Tourism can also increase cost of lodging, dining out, and general entertainment for locals who live in Colorado permanently. Not to mention that driving in the snow and along narrow mountain roads takes practice and skill that many tourists have not developed. This can make for slow drivers that cause more accidents on winding mountain roads. Whether you love it or hate it, tourism brings an increasing surge of revenue to Colorado each year, but it does come at the cost of general wear and tear and overall degradation of resources that many Coloradans consider to be their own. Number 11, overcrowded trails. In the 30-plus years I've lived in Colorado Springs, I've seen a noticeable uptick in the number of people on hiking trails. Routes that I used to see only one or two hikers at the most, I now see dozens each outing. Not to mention the amount of locals and tourists alike who get out to enjoy our state and national forests. There are so many visitors to Rocky Mountain National Park every month that you must have a reservation in order to hike or camp there. And at times it can be even up to a 6-month waiting list. Increased crowds on trails means bigger need for education around safety, responsible use, and leaving no trace. Overcrowding in the great outdoors can also dampen the serenity that comes when escaping a city to enjoy time out in nature. Number 10, politics. Politics is a subject I try to avoid. It's often a polarizing topic, but Colorado is like every other state. There are people who swing left, and there are people who swing right. In recent years, Colorado has been considered a blue state, but it doesn't mean that it's without pockets of red. In fact, the most populated county in Colorado is a red county, and is one of the reasons why Colorado has been considered in the past a purple state. A major factor to this is the military presence Colorado has. There are 7 major military bases within the state, most of which are Air Force bases along the Front Range where most of the people are. Cities with a military presence include Colorado Springs, which has 4 military bases in or near the city, as well as one in Aurora and one in Pueblo. And this brings a large influx of outside residents stationed here who take with them their own views of politics from their home. Number 9, locals blame transplants. It's no secret that many locals who were born and raised in Colorado do not want to see many more people moving to their state. If you're from California, Texas, or Florida especially, you better be prepared to hear horrible statements or people telling you to go back to your home. These types of people are called imbeciles, and they live in every state, not just Colorado. Harry has personally received comments like this on Instagram and via email from people telling her to go back to Texas. These comments aren't fun to read or to hear. Locals tend to put blame on tourists and transplants who are changing the home they grew up in. A lot of natives believe that they're entitled to live in the state because they were born and raised here, and no other outsiders should be allowed to move here. But I want to assure you that not all the natives think this way. Locals are just tired of everyone trashing their cities, trampling on their hiking spots, and taking over national parks. No one wants to see their beloved state destroyed over time. Number 8. Lack of water and rainy days. There's no argument that the sun in Colorado can be very intense for anyone who didn't grow up here. Most of Colorado's population is located in an arid or desert climate, so it can be hot and it's often very dry. You should expect dry skin, cracked lips, and even a bloody nose from time to time. The state doesn't get a lot of rain, nor does it have many rainy days or thunderstorms. Colorado's average yearly precipitation is only about 17 inches, but that does vary based on what city you live in within the state. While Colorado receives a lot of snow, it's not the same as rain soaking into the ground during spring, summer, or fall. And water shortages are common in Colorado, and implementation of water restrictions happens regularly, typically May through October. Wildfires are also more common than we'd like to see and are a massive risk in hot, dry summer months. Fire bans and no burn zones are highly regulated. With a lack of moisture comes a decrease in humidity, which Colorado has already a low amount of. This can be viewed as a good or bad thing. Individuals who move to Colorado from the East Coast often mention how much they miss thunderstorms and overcast days. If you're someone who loves the rain, then you'll find it quite lacking here in Colorado. Number 7. Gardening is limited. The next point may seem obvious, but the lack of rainwater means that gardening in Colorado can be difficult. Living in a desert-like climate means very hot and dry weather during the days and massive temperature drops at night. While melons, squashes, peppers thrive in climates like this, other lowland crops tend to fare more poorly. Not only that, but the soil doesn't make it easy to grow plants because it's mostly made up of pebbles, sand, and granite, not a lot of nutritional value. There are rocks everywhere. It is the Rocky Mountains after all. The best kind of plants and flowers that grow in Colorado are able to withstand the heat and cold as well as not needing a lot of water. The fluctuations in Colorado's weather make for erratic and unpredictable growing seasons as well. Some years there'll be an early fall cold snap or a late spring freeze and it'll wipe out certain crops entirely. The shorter growing season in Colorado can make it difficult for those with a green thumb to enjoy lush green gardens. But there are a few places in Colorado known for its agriculture and are fantastic growing conditions. The San Luis Valley, Grand Valley, and the Great Plains are all places built on the back of agriculture. Number 6. Bad drivers and traffic. With a state full of transplants from all around the nation, Colorado does not get a good reputation for having good drivers. The state actually ranks number 6 in the country among the states with worst drivers. According to the study, the main reason for such bad driving is due to carelessness, speeding, and ignoring traffic laws. With an influx of new residents from out of state that bring their own regional driving styles and rules of the road, it's no wonder that Colorado has some of the worst drivers in the country. Bad drivers often lead to more accidents, especially on icy or snowy roads, which causes traffic to back up quite frequently. During rush hour in big cities like Colorado Springs or Denver, it can seem like there are crashes every few miles. Due to the Rocky Mountains and limited amount of space for developed roads, some highways are simple narrow 2-lane roads. So when an accident happens or there's an overload of traffic, it can really slow things down. Factors like this can cause an uptick in the amount of cars on the road, which increase driving times for commuting and weekend trips to the ski slopes. It's very annoying when you have a weekend planned in Winter Park and it takes you 4 hours to go 2 miles. True story. That really happened to us on one of our weekend getaways. Number 5. Homelessness. Since 2007, the amount of individuals who are homeless in Colorado has jumped 266%. Wow. This is the largest percentage increase in the entire United States, nearly tripling the rate. In a 2021 report, about 3% of Colorado's population was labeled as being chronically homeless. This means that someone has been homeless for at least a year in the past 3 years. You can't help but notice the homeless campsites that are visible from the highways or the amount of people panhandling in popular areas. Because of these homeless camps, there have been more litter and trash along main highways and in the big cities. The larger cities along the Front Range, particularly Denver, see the worst of it, but mountain towns have plenty of homeless people too. Even so, the homeless population in Colorado is not nearly as bad as the rest of the country compared to other states. Colorado ranks as number 10 as the worst state in America for homelessness. The upside is the state has many local and government programs set up to help, but the problem is still getting worse every single day. Number 4. Marijuana culture. Despite issues with a short growing season and lack of good soil, marijuana is one of the resources that still flourishes here in Colorado. The state legalized the possession and sale of marijuana in December of 2012, so this recreational drug has been available to the public for over a decade. Depending on which city you choose to live in Colorado, the retail sale of marijuana, as well as cannabis, is a completely normal thing. Adults must be over the age of 21 to buy and possess it. And there are also limits to selling marijuana, and only licensed retailers can do so. But it's a common occurrence to run across the culture and consumption of weed in the state. It's likely that some of your friends, neighbors, and even family members will purchase marijuana occasionally and offer it to you as well. Not to mention the cannabis culture, from tours of local growers and factories, to cooking with cannabis, and even painting classes where puffing is allowed. The culture of living around and near the sale and distribution of marijuana is not considered taboo at all. Some people even move to Colorado simply to enjoy this recreational drug, while others are okay living near it but choose not to participate. Fortunately, there are many cities within Colorado that do not allow the retail sale of marijuana within city limits, so you can choose to buy and enjoy using it or opt out and not be included. If you want to purchase marijuana or any of the other cannabis forms for recreation or even medical purposes, you will need to consider this when choosing the best place to live in Colorado. Number 3. Crime rate. Crime is something that I correlate similarly to natural disasters when it comes to places to live. What I mean is that crime, along with natural disasters, is just something that's going to happen no matter where you live, sadly. Colorado has the second highest property crimes in the country and is the worst state when it comes to auto theft. The towns and cities within the state that are the hardest hit by crime, again, how it looks in most states, are the most impoverished communities and suburbs and where the highest density of people are often located. And these few towns are able to skew the overall state crime numbers very heavily. Crime is going to happen, and Colorado is no different. It's a reality of our society and the world we live in. Sometimes your number is just gonna get called, and you'll be the unlucky person at the receiving end of a criminal act. There's no crime-free utopia anywhere in the world. The truth is that heinous felonies can happen in the most prestigious and uppity neighborhoods to the most seedy or sketchy districts across the state. So I will give the same advice I would give to anyone that is going anywhere in the world. Your best defense against crime is your common sense. If you keep a good head on your shoulders and leave as little opportunity for crime to happen against you, that is the best you can do. As someone who has lived here for 30 plus years, I have personally never been affected by any crime in Colorado or been in a situation that I felt unsafe. Number 2, high altitude. Isn't that the same as marijuana culture? No matter how long you've lived in Colorado, the altitude can still take a while to get acclimated to. Denver is called the Mile High City for the simple reason that it sits 5,200 feet above sea level. But what most transplants don't realize is that Denver is actually one of the lower elevation cities in the state. Colorado Springs is almost 1,000 feet higher in elevation than Denver, and mountain towns like Aspen, Vail, and Breckenridge sit even higher at 8,000 feet. Living at higher elevation takes time to get used to, from days to weeks or even years for some people. The air is thinner and there is a lower level of oxygen. And even after living in Colorado for years, you can still get winded and find it hard to catch your breath in higher altitude situations. Another aspect for living at high altitude is learning how to adjust the cooking and baking times. Cooking at high altitude alters the recipes from ingredients to cooking times. With each 500 feet increase in elevation, the boiling point of water is lowered by about 1 degree Fahrenheit. For example, at 7,500 feet above sea level, the boiling point of water is around 198 degrees Fahrenheit versus the normal 212 at sea level. Finally, your consumption of alcohol is altered by altitude. At higher elevation, alcohol has a greater effect on your body since you are getting less oxygen to your bloodstream. You may not be able to consume as much alcohol as you once could while at sea level. Number 1, cost of living. What's the number one complaint for most people that are moving to Colorado? The cost of living and housing prices. Living in a gorgeous state like Colorado doesn't come cheap, and the cost of living is rising every day. A US News and World Report listed Colorado at number 43 in affordability. This compares the average cost of living in each state with the average household income. That is to say that Colorado is a pretty expensive state to live in, with 42 other states that would cost less to live in. According to this report, Colorado has a higher average cost of living than the entire state of New York, and that's really saying something. According to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, in 2020, the average total personal consumption cost of Colorado was $46,642 per year, which is comparable to Washington, California, and New York. This means you will need to earn at least $46,600 to be able to comfortably afford to live in Colorado. However, this figure does not necessarily include expenses like saving for retirement or traveling in the state or for day trips or vacations. Even some of the cheapest cities to live in Colorado are still expensive when compared to other cities within other states in America. Life in Colorado definitely has its perks. From snow-packed days to sunny summers, there's no lack of amenities and things to do. Personally, I love my life in Colorado, but it also has its downsides. It's definitely not a place for everyone. I hope this list helped make you aware of some of the things that you should know that might cause you to regret to move into Colorado.